Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Khaliq al-samawati wal-ardeen, thumma as-salatu was-salamu ala man kana nabiyyan wa Adam al-bayn al-ma'i wa teen. أجمل الأجملين أكمل الأكملين سيدنا نبينا محمد مصطفى صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم وآله وأصحابه وآل بيته أجمعين. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وأصحاب سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم. صلاة وسلام عليك يا سيدي يا طبيبي يا حبيبي يا رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak, and welcome to Mufti in the House, your go-to guide for the essentials of Ramadan and fasting. I am Mufti Fareed Jamal Moeeni, your host on this journey of clarity and spiritual discovery as we seek the guidance of the esteemed scholars and experts in Islamic jurisprudence. Dear viewers, brothers and sisters, in this series, which is special for this month of Ramadan, we dive deep into the divine principles that govern fasting and the practices that make Ramadan a unique and spiritual enriching experience for the Muslims worldwide. Now join us as we explore the diverse aspects of this blessed month, shedding light on the do's and the don'ts, addressing common misconceptions, and providing clarity on the teachings that shape the holy observance of fasting. In this show, dear viewers, brothers and sisters, brought to you through the kind courtesy of our CEO, Haji Inchan Ishmael, and IBN Studios, and our beloved sponsors, we break down the rules and wisdom behind Ramadan, and in a way that is simple yet profound. So join us as we navigate through the do's and the don'ts, and we debunk the myths and get to the heart of what makes fasting during this sacred month so special. Whether you are new to Ramadan or a seasoned observer, we're here to make the rulings easy to understand, bringing you closer to the essence of this blessed time. So let's dive into the beauty of Ramadan together on Mufti in the House. So get ready for an enlightening conversation and filled with practical insights that will enhance your Ramadan experience. And dear viewers, brothers and sisters, our mission is to make make the wisdom of Islamic jurisprudence accessible to all, fostering a greater understanding of the spiritual significance behind the rituals of Ramadan. So sit back, relax, and let Mufti in the House be your guide to a more profound and fulfilling Ramadan experience. May this journey bring us closer to our faith and strengthen our connection with Allah. Excuse me. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And let's begin. Let's begin this journey of knowledge and reflection, inshallah. Dear viewers, brothers and sisters, today's questions, and the first question rather for today, revolves around the calculation of zakat of an individual who has made intentions for Hajj. Yes, Brother Mujib. Made intentions for Hajj and has submitted their passport to travel agent for visa processing of the visa. And the questioner, Brother Mujib, seeks clarification on whether the expenditures for Hajj should be excluded from the calculation of zakat, or additionally they inquire they should be excluded from the calculation of zakat, or additionally the questioner, Brother Mujib, inquires about the ruling if they have already paid the amount for Hajj. So the question is such: what do the scholars of the Deen and the Muftis of the sacred law state regarding the following issue? I have made the intention for Hajj, so Brother Mujib intends to perform Hajj for this year, inshallah. And he has sent his passport to the travel agent already, but no paperwork has been done. right? And he says that I have already given my passport for the visa application. I am about to calculate my zakat. Do I exclude the expenditures of Hajj and work out the zakat on the remaining balance, or do I have to give zakat on the total amount of wealth? Also, if I have already given the amount for Hajj, so what is the ruling regarding this? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-Jawab bin Awn al-Malik al-Wahhab. Allahumma Hadayatul Haqqi wa Sabab. Excuse me, brothers. Right. The answer is with the help of the generous bestower, Allah Almighty. O Allah, guide us to the truth and the right path as usual, and continuously guide us, Ya Allah. Now, dear viewers, brothers and sisters, if an entire year has passed upon one having ownership of the amount of nisab, the threshold of zakat, and if you are using the nisab of gold, that is the day that I have answered this question, is $38,511.29, right? That is the day that this question was answered. So if you check, you must check. If you're going with the nisab of silver, it is $3,067.87. Right? So if 1 year has passed upon having the ownership of the amount of nisab, the threshold of zakat, then one will have to give zakat on the full amount. The expenditures for Hajj cannot be excluded. You can say, okay, it's 90 to 100,000 for Hajj, I minus it. And then, say for example, I have 250,000, I minus the 100,000 for Hajj. So I only giving zakat on 150,000. No. The expenditures for Hajj cannot be excluded. This is because at this current moment in time, there has been no such contract with the travel agent in which one has had to pay the fee for the total amount for the Hajj package. Even in the case of having made a down payment beforehand, that amount will still be a debt with them, and its zakat will be fired upon you. Because even, for example, you paid 20,000 already and you balance 70. That 70,000 that you balance is still a debt on you, and you need to give zakat on that. Because as long as you are going and haven't got the visa, or by means of a final categorical contract, right, it's not definite that your amount of money with them will remain regarded as a debt. So you don't know if you're going to live. You can pass away, right? Allah grant us to be healthy and strong and have long life. So however, when you're going has been confirmed and definite by means of your final categorical contract, it's agreed that you're going. Now the amount deposited will leave your ownership. So when it is finalized that you're going and you give them the money, right? Or you pay down half. So it's finalized and you know that now you're going. Now the amount deposited would leave your ownership. You no longer own that money. And it will be regarded as a fee for a Hajj package. And thus there will be no zakat on that amount. Understand? Just as is mentioned in Fatwa Ahli Sunnah in the chapter of zakat, that as long as one's name is not selected or definite, one's money, which is with the Hajj organizer, is in the ruling of a debt. So in such case, if a year has passed upon one having possessed the amount of for the nisab, and the date of taking the zakat has come, then one will have to pay the zakat for this deposited amount that they kept. You have to give the zakat on that. Understand? Summary of what we're saying now. According to the scholars and the muftis, if a person has owned wealth equivalent to the nisab, the threshold of zakat, for an entire lunar year, they are obligated to pay zakat on the full amount, including the expenditures of Hajj. This obligation persists even if the individual has submitted their passport to a travel agent for visa processing, but has not entered into the definite contract or made payment for the Hajj package. The amount deposited with the travel agent is considered a debt until final binding contract is established for the Hajj journey. So therefore, zakat must be paid on this amount if the conditions for zakat eligibility are met. Only when confirmed, categorically speaking, contract is made with the Hajj organizers for Hajj, then the deposited amount no longer belongs to the individual, and will zakat no longer be obligated on that sum. Only when it's finalized, right? This ruling is in accordance with the guidance provided in Fatwa Ahl Sunnah. Now, dear viewers, brothers and sisters, excuse me, we come to another question, and this question is with regards to the issue of zakat obligation concerning two houses owned by the questioner, Brother Talib. He's in Trinidad, and from which rental income is generated from these two houses. Talib seeks clarification on whether zakat should be paid on the value of the houses themselves or solely on the income earned or received from the rental. Question number 45. What do the scholars and the muftis of the noble Sharia say regarding this matter? I've bought two houses. I've purchased two houses in Trinidad, and I'm receiving rent from them. Do I pay zakat on the value of the two houses, or is it necessary on the money I receive from the rent alone? Talib. Al-Jawab bin Awn al-Malik al-Wahhab. Allahumma hadayatul haqqi wa sawab. The answer is, with the help of the generous bestower, O Allah, continue to guide us to the truth and the right path. In this scenario of the question, the houses have been given out on rent. Therefore, zakat will not be paid upon the value of the two houses. Rather, it will be necessary to pay zakat on the money received from the rent, as long as the other conditions of zakat are met. This is because zakat is only given upon mal-i-nami, wealth that grows in nature, and houses do not fall in this category. Rather, houses take money from you, for maintenance. However, if the houses were purchased, this is the condition, you must understand this. If the houses were purchased for commerce with the intention to sell, then due to becoming mal-i-tijarat, wealth used for businesses, and its excess, it will become wajib to give zakat upon the value of the houses. Otherwise, it will not be necessary. This is the intention. So it depends on the intention. You purchase these houses with intention to sell. Then you need to give the zakat on the value of those houses. But if it's purchased and it's the intention for rent, you purchase on the value of the rent earned. Understand? That's the difference. And you didn't know that before. Now you know. Otherwise, and you must understand, when we make the intention, the difference between mali tijarat, wealth used for businesses, and the wealth which is mal in'ami, the wealth that is used and it's increasing, right? As mentioned in Mabsut Sarkhasi in Mabsut, he says, لأن نصاب الزكاة المال النامي مال النامي ومعنى النماء في هذه أشياء لا يكون بدون نيات تجارة. Because the nisab of zakat is ma'li na'mi, and this meaning is not found in these things unless it is intent for commerce is found. The intent to sell, tijarat, is found. Otherwise it will become ma'li na'mi. It's not ma'li tijarat. Right? It's not ma'li tijarat. All right, so it depends on the purpose of the houses. Was it purchased to sell, to resell, or was it purchased for just renting? Kitab al-Mabsut, Mabsut, Kitab al-Mabsut, Volume 2, page 264. And in response to a similar question, Mufti Waqar Uddin states that that house which has been constructed without the intent of being sold, but rather it has been built for personal use, zakat will not be given from the money received from renting out that house, and not for the value of it, right? Zakat will be given out for the money received from renting the house, but not the cost of the house, because the house has been constructed without the intent of being sold. It has been constructed for the intent of living in, to dwell into it. But rather now it was built for personal use. And now, due to some necessity, you're renting it. So zakat will be given from the money received from the rental, not from the value of it. But if it was built now for the purpose of selling, right? So businessmen and people who are building properties for the purpose of selling, don't think that you can come now and say, I'll give zakat on the rental income. No. You need to give zakat on the value of the house that you spent on building to resell. And this is important, that people must understand these things, right? May Allah guide us all. So according to the scholars and the muftis, zakat is not obligatory on the value of the houses themselves, but rather on the income derived from renting them out, provided that the other conditions of zakat are eligible, or the eligibility are met, right? This is because houses do not fall under the category of mali nami, wealth that grows in nature, upon which zakat is obligatory. However, if the houses were purchased for business purposes, intended to sell them, this would be categorized as mali tijarat, wealth used for business, making zakat obligatory on their value, right? And the ruling is based on the principle that zakat is only obligatory on wealth that grows in nature. All right, Mufti Waqaruddin further clarifies that if a house is acquired for personal use rather than sale, zakat is calculated based on a rental income generated from it, not for its intrinsic value. And that's what I'm mentioning here also. And you know, we have all these real estate coming up, people buying properties and building up houses and selling, right? Muslim men. So you need to give zakat on each value, the intrinsic value of each house. So you're selling a house for 1.5 million, you need to take 2.5% out of that 1.5 million for that one house. And if you have 10 houses, 20 houses, zakat need to be given. Because your intention is what? To sell. Right? Intention is not, this was built for personal use and then it's rented. And if its intention is built for rental, right? For rental, then alhamdulillah, you base on a rental income, right? So another inquiry comes from Brother Tawheed, who recently sold his house, and he intends to purchase another house with that money. He wonders if he must pay zakat on the proceeds from the sale, as the money has been in his possession for over a year now, while he resides in a rented apartment, or he's renting now. So he's renting and he sold his house, but he intends to buy a house. He's asking about his zakat. So what do the scholars, question number 46, what do the scholars and the muftis of the mighty Sharia state regarding this matter? I have sold my house and I am now currently attempting to buy another house. The money I have received after selling the house has been in my ownership for over a year. Will I have to pay zakat on all of this money? At present, I am living in a rented house. Brother Tawheed, he's renting, right? So, because of renting, he's thinking he doesn't have to give zakat on this money. So we want to know the answer. Let's see what's the answer. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-jawabu bin awn al-malik al-wahhab, Allahumma hadayatul haqqi wa sawab. And the answer is with the help of the generous bestower Allah. O Allah, guide us to the truth and the right path continuously. Yes, absolutely. You will have to pay zakat on the entirety of the money that you sold your house. Houses in Trinidad are bought by paying a substantial amount of money, and this is 1,000 times greater than the nisab, right? Threshold of zakat, which if you calculating the nisab of silver, it's just $3,067.87 the day that I answered this question, right? And if it's the nisab of gold, it is $38,511.29 the day that I answered this question, right? So, as I mentioned, the threshold amount of wealth which makes a person liable for zakat, and the one who possesses at least 612.35 grams of silver or something of its value is obligated or obliged to pay zakat, and this is the value that is around $3,067.87 according to the rate of silver at the time of answering this question. And it is mentioned in Bahar Shariat, the nisab of silver is 200 dirhams, right? And Bahar Shariat volume 1 page 902, part 5. Now, the nisab for gold is 87.47 grams of gold, which is approximately $38,512, considering the day that I answered this question. So, gathering money for a house is not considered to be hajati asli, a primary necessity. That is excessive that you have. So, zakat must be given upon it, as mentioned in Fatwa-i-Ahli Sunnah. So, a summary, dear viewers, brothers and sisters, the scholars and the muftis unanimously affirm that zakah, right, is obligatory on the entirety of the money received from the sale of the house. Now, this obligation arises from the fact that the value of the proceeds significantly exceeds the nisab. So the threshold of zakah, as per the Islamic rulings, anyone possessing wealth equal or excessively exceeding the nisab is obligated to pay zakat, regardless of whether the wealth is being used for purchasing a house or other purpose. Therefore, Tawheed must fulfill his zakat obligation on the entire sum in accordance with the principles outlined in Islamic jurisprudence. And this question now comes from Sister Sadiqa. She seeks guidance on whether it is permissible to spend her zakat money on her cousin's wedding ceremony. Question number 47. And what do the scholars and the mufti and the noble sharia say regarding the matter? Can I spend my zakat money on my cousin's wedding ceremony? Sister Sa'ida, she wants to help her cousin by spending the money on her wedding. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Al-Jawab bin Awn al-Malik al-Wahhab. Allahumma hadayatul haqqi wa sawab. The answer is with the help of the generous bestower. O Allah, continue to guide us to the truth and the right path. Zakat money cannot be spent on a wedding ceremony because making a shari faqir, a poor person, according to Sharia, the owner of the money is a condition. Right? Now, without tamliq, ownership, transferring the ownership of the money, the wealth, zakat will not be paid as is mentioned in Tanvir al-Absar, Ma'adur al-Muhtar. Right? وَيُشْتَرَطُ أَنْ يَكُونُ الصَّرْفُ تَمْلِيكًا لَا إِبَاحَةً. And the fulfillment of zakat, there must be transfer of ownership, not just making it permissible for the recipient. There must be transfer of ownership. The person must become owner of this wealth. Tanvir al-Absar, Ma'adur al-Muhtar, volume 3, page 341. So if the cousin is a shari fakir, according to Sharia, is considered poor, the payment of zakat will be rendered correct by making your cousin, him or her, the owner of the money, as the condition of tamliq, ownership, is found in it. All right, so they must become the owner of the money. Don't just say, okay, my cousin can take zakat, I'll just buy the cake for the wedding or the dress or etc., whatever I spend so and so on the wedding, or the food for the guests. No. They must be made the owner of the money. According to the scholars and muftis of the noble sharia, spending zakat money on a wedding ceremony is not permissible. This is because zakat requires the transfer of ownership to a person who is considered a poor, genuinely needy person according to Islamic law, not merely making the funds available to use. As stated in Tanvil al-Absar Ma'adur al-Muhtar, the fulfillment of zakat necessitates tamliq, ownership, or the transfer of ownership, not just making the funds permissible for the recipient. Therefore, if Sa'ida's cousin meets the criteria of a shari faqir, right, zakat can only be correctly paid by transferring ownership of the funds directly to her cousin, fulfilling the conditions set forth in Islamic jurisprudence. So, overall summary, dear brothers and sisters, before we come to an end, in these inquiries regarding zakah, the scholars and muftis provide comprehensive guidance in accordance with Islamic principles. Firstly, regarding the calculation of zakah for someone intending to perform hajj, the ruling stipulates that zakat must be paid on the entirety of one's wealth, including the expenditures for hajj, if they have owned the threshold, the amount for a full lunar year. Now, this obligation, dear viewers, brothers and sisters, remains until a final categorical contract for hajj is established, at which point zakah is no longer obligatory on the amount deposited by the travel agent. And we discussed that. Secondly, concerning the zakah obligation of rental income, right? The zakah and the obligation of the rental income from properties, scholars concur that zakah is not obligatory on the intrinsic value of the houses, but rather on the income derived from renting them out, provided that the other conditions of zakat eligibility are met. However, if these houses were purchased for business purposes, intended to sell them, zakat becomes obligatory on their value as business assets. And likewise, you're building houses and you intend to sell them, all right? Lastly, the scholars unanimously affirm that zakat cannot be spent on non-eligible expenditures such as a wedding ceremony. Zakat requires the transfer of ownership to a Shari'i faqir, not merely making the funds available for use. Therefore, if a person qualifies as a Shari'i faqir according to Sharia, they are considered poor. Zakah can only be correctly paid by transferring ownership of the funds directly to them. Overall, dear viewers, brothers and sisters, these responses underscore the importance of fulfilling zakah obligations in accordance with Islamic jurisprudence, ensuring that wealth is distributed in ways that adhere to the principles of social justice and charity outlined in Islam. So here are some important points highlighted in today's episode in the responses of zakah-related inquiries, and we must take into consideration milkiyat, ownership, and the duration. Zakah is obligatory on wealth owned for a full lunar year, provided Islamic year, Islamic calendar, provided it exceeds the threshold amount, the nisab. Zakah calculation is calculated based on the total wealth owned, including expenditures for Hajj and other purposes if nisab threshold is met, if the nisab is met, right? The debt, having debt consideration, funds deposited by the travel agent for Hajj expenditures, considered a debt until final categorical contract is established, and zakah remains obligatory on this amount until then. The nature of assets. Zakah is not obligatory on the intrinsic value of assets like houses, but on income derived from them, provided that they are not purchased for business purposes. Intent of acquisition. If assets like houses are acquired for business purposes, intending to resell them, then zakah becomes obligatory on their value as business assets and not their rental income. Spending zakah. Zakah cannot be spent on non-eligible expenditures like a wedding ceremony. It requires a transfer of ownership to a genuinely needed person according to Sharia and Islamic law. So these points emphasize the importance of understanding zakah obligations, its eligibility, the criteria, and the proper distribution of zakat according to the Islamic principles. May Allah Almighty forgive us, have mercy on us, and accept from us, and grant us tawfiq to do the correct thing, inshallah. It's time to wrap up now, viewers, brothers and sisters. Join us again next time, on your favorite station for Islamic broadcasting, IBN, inshallah, and may we meet again next time. And until we meet next time, may Allah Almighty accept your fasting, may He accept your salah, your tarawih salah, your iftari, your zakat, inshallah, and may He grant us long life to worship Him, inshallah. Wa ma alayna illa al-balag. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.